Hey everyone, Grant Liffmann here alongside Chris Mannix, and we get to talk about an NBA schedule release. It is finally here, even though it feels like the finals just ended, and yet we're somehow close to opening night again. It happens every year, it feels like. And Chris, let's just jump straight into it. Opening night, opening day NBC games. What are your thoughts? We got a 3 p.m. game. What are your thoughts on the games with the slate that day?
I have no complaints whatsoever about the opening day slate. I'm not just being a company man here. I think it's 10 out of 10, perfect. All three games make a lot of sense. Celtics, let's see what they look like in the post-Jaylen Brown era against a Pistons team that, as we record this, I have no idea what they're going to look like. It's what is going to happen with Jalen Duren. They've had some other changes to their roster in the offseason. I love Sixers, Knicks, ring night, banner night, the whole 9 yards in New York City. LeBron James going back to New York, where he's probably going to be living this off during the season, playing against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. And then give me as many Oklahoma City against San Antonio games as you possibly can. And I think that's the first opportunity for us to see if there has been an evolution in Chet Holmgren, because that's what I'm looking for, Grant. I want to see if Chet has put in the unseen hours this offseason, doing the work, putting it in to get ready and get better in his matchups with Victor Wembanyama. I love all three of these games on opening night.
Absolutely. And I love the 3 p.m. game too. Let's get other eyeballs out there. I know international audiences can tune in for that as well. And for me, I look at it and I could not agree more about these games. And each one has such juicy storylines. Like every team on opening night has juicy storylines. Like just think about it. You obviously know Boston well. Just Jason Tatum, this is his team now, right? It kind of was his team before, but now it's like, hey, we traded away Jaylen Brown. This is your team. There's no more Jays. And then you got Detroit, and by the time that the season comes along, either you're going to have a really upset Duren, or you're going to have some just like a happy confluence of all these things that just finally came together at the end, or there could be some awkwardness there. You got Sixers, obviously you just talked about LeBron, but Jaylen Brown and just the whole, how about the Knicks, who are going to be the favorites in the East against the Sixers team, who a lot of people are pretty bullish about potentially challenging them in the East. You get that right off the bat. And as you said, OKC and San Antonio. I think for the first time, it depends on what you think about Denver. For the first time in the West, it seems like it's very clear there's two teams at the top. And then the rest. Denver, I understand if you put them in there, and I do. I'm pretty high on Denver as well. But we're talking about the future of this league, the current of this league, everything. And then finally, Chris, honestly, at the end of the day, is this the season we start saying Victor Wembanyama is the best player in the NBA? And opening night, he gets a chance to do it against Chet Holmgren. I couldn't be more excited about this.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I'd also add one thing about the 3 p.m. game, and I love it because not only can you potentially appeal to a European audience with some of these games, but you can also appeal to a younger audience. Like, how many teams during the regular season use one of those Sunday afternoon games to call it kids night? Because you've got a bunch of young kids who are incapable of staying up for a game that is going to end at 10:30, 11 o'clock, depending on how long the game goes. Now you've got a 3 p.m. start. I know it's not ideal for the working crowd, but you can still get 18, 19,000 fans to take the day off and come to that game. You're going to have a lot of fans, I'm telling you, bringing their young kids. And the NBA, what do they want more than anything, Grant? They want to get younger. They want a younger demographic. Well, this is a great way to introduce or reintroduce a young crowd to NBA games.
Completely agree. But speaking of introducing, let's talk about debut matchups for some of these players that are going to be on their new teams. And I want to start off with this one. Obviously, we just talked about LeBron and Jaylen Brown going on opening night. But how about with LaMelo Ball the next night and his Wolves go and play Giannis in Miami? Talk about a fun debut for both teams right there. Giannis against LaMelo, and just with it and just seeing the new vibes of these teams. That's a fun one to me.
That's a really good one. I mean, I think Minnesota have their backs against the wall this offseason. I think they have to do something to satisfy the need for Anthony Edwards to have this team get better. Because over the last couple of years, we've seen Minnesota kind of chip away at the foundation of a team that was really good, looked like a potential championship contender with Cat and some of these other deals that they've made. I'm curious to see what another high usage rate guard in LaMelo Ball looks like opposite of Anthony Edwards. But I'm going to give you one kind of outside the box, a debut that's not really a debut, but I'm going to call it a debut for these purposes. The return of Damian Lillard to Portland. Like, we forgot about Damian Lillard last year. Like, he was out all season with the Achilles injury. Now he's coming back, and he's coming back to a Blazers team that looks pretty damn different. They go out there and they acquire Ja Morant. Let's see how that works. They've got new ownership there that's made some changes, new coach in there, and Micah Nuri. Now you've got Dame coming back into the mix. Is he still the all-NBA guard he was prior to his exit, the all-star guard? Like, I'm very curious to see what in his mid-30s Damian Lillard looks like.
That's such a huge point because let's not... just 2 years ago, they acquired Dame Lillard to Milwaukee to be the 1-2 punch for Giannis. And then everyone just kind of forgets about Dame Lillard because he gets hurt and he disappears for a little bit. Well, this is a Blazers team that really caught a lot of people off guard last year. Denny took this huge leap. A lot of their younger guys got better. Klingon got better, Tumani. And all of a sudden, you get Ja Morant and potentially a fully healthy Dame Lillard who, I mean, are they a sleeper team that no one's fully talking about? Is there a chance that this team is better than a lot of people are giving them credit for?
I got to see what Ja Morant looks like opposite Damian Lillard. Like, I know Dame coming back from this injury is not going to be the 35-minute per game guy that he was prior to the injury. Same thing probably with Ja Morant, who they're going to want to try to keep healthy. Ja has a history of injuries in addition to the other stuff that's gone on with him. But, they're going to wind up playing a lot of minutes together. And how many shots can Donovan Klingon block back there? Like, they're gonna need to figure out how it gets done defensively in that backcourt. I think they have the potential to be dynamic offensively. I think Dame is still going to come back as an elite perimeter shooter, as an elite scorer. Ja, he's got to have something to prove. 2 years left in his contract. He's going to want to show that he's still a high-level guy, but can they get enough stops on the defensive end to continue this upward trajectory? I'm going to need to see that first.
Just make sure Drew Holiday or Tumani Kamara are always on the court when one of them's on the court. Maybe that's the way to do it. Hey, here's just another fun little debut one. It's the next night. Is the second night of NBA action. Jazz at Memphis. You get a little Darren Peterson against Cam Boozer, and then also the return of JJJ, Triple J, to Memphis. That's a fun little one, right? I just want to throw it. You get to see the new look Jazz.
I like that. I mean, new look Jazz. Like, they were hiding this team for most of the second half of last year. So, look, this is the year Utah's got to make a big leap. I know they traded away Walker Kessler. That takes something away because they traded him for draft capital and flexibility and all that stuff. But they have got real weapons there. Their front line is really good. I want to see Jackson play alongside Markkanen. I want to see what Darren Peterson has. I just want to see what this team looks like fully whole, because I think fully whole, they can compete for a play-in spot in the Western Conference. I really believe with the coaching staff they have there, the experienced talent they have. They've got a bunch of guys. Keontae George, fringy all-star guy last year. Like, they've got the weapons to be a really dynamic offensive team. I want to see if they can bring it all together in one season.
I completely agree. All right, we're talking about some anticipation we have for those matchups and debuts, but how about some revenge homecoming? Now, I want to get your thoughts on the obvious one, Jaylen Brown at Boston. I want to get your thoughts on that. But the one I want to throw out there as well is just Giannis returning to Milwaukee is going to be a huge deal. And somehow there's so many players got traded or moved teams that Giannis going to Miami just kind of got brushed on the rug just a little bit. Like, at that point, people are like, oh, LeBron and Jaylen Brown and this and that. You're like, well, by the way, Giannis left Milwaukee and he is on Miami. So when he goes back to Milwaukee, really, Milwaukee's not going to be a good team, but talk about revenge. Tyler Hero has some bad blood there. So I'm kind of excited to see how that all plays out. But please walk me through what Jaylen Brown at Boston is going to look like.
It's big. Like, the tension is going to be palpable. And look, it doesn't happen, I think, till January 21st. I think that's when he goes back to Boston. So we've got a bit of a wait before we get Jaylen Brown in the Garden once again. They'll play again before that against the 76ers in Philly. But, like, that game is going to have such enormous tension because I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both going to want to prove that they're the best wings on the floor. Like, they're going to be going at it. Like, these two
better
guys,
guard each other. They better guard each other.
I think I'll put it this way. I think Jaylen Brown will be guarding Jason Tatum. I think that's for sure. That. Now, yeah, I think will Joe Mazzulla mix things up and play Paul George against Jaylen Brown for minutes? Probably. They will eventually collide defensively for both sides. But I think to start the game, we'll see probably more Paul George. But this is going to be so intense because these guys really haven't ratcheted down the speculation that they were frenemies, right? Like they were good friends, teammates, but also healthy competition. Like Jaylen Brown, his opening press conference with Philadelphia, he was asked point blank, have you talked to Jason Tatum? His answer was not really. So, like, you know, the everybody's saying, like, there are some issues there. Like, neither one of these guys has really given us reason to believe, even if it's just nominal or cursory, that there aren't some real lingering stuff in there. And I think this is going to be high drama. We don't get many matchups like this. We've got two ex-teammates, both in their prime, coming back. It's kind of like the top of my head, the one thing I can think of is when Durant came back with the Warriors to play against Westbrook. Like that, and you remember the intensity of that game. Russell Westbrook came out looking like he wanted to put 50 on Kevin Durant that night. I think that Jaylen Brown, maybe not 50, but he wants to have 30, and he wants to hold Jason Tatum to 10.
Yeah, no, I cannot wait for those. And then, you know, there's so many big games. The slate, you know, it's just so many big holiday. You know, you look at the Christmas Day slate, and I thought they did a really good job on that one. San Antonio at New York. That's obviously a finals rematch right there. That should be a great one. LeBron going back to LA. That's, you know, I don't think there's as much of a storyline there, but, you know, that's still interesting. It's something to look at. Hey, I think it's kind of cool that Washington plays Utah. You know, at some point they should have been on Christmas Day. I think that would have been more fun, you know, a little number one versus number two. Maybe I'm too much into the rookie. Here's the thing. We've talked about this rookie class for so long. It feels like we're getting lost because, again, so many stars moved and all this happened. Is like DeBonsa, Peterson, Boozer, Caleb Wilson. Like, I'm excited for these debuts. So maybe I was just thinking outside the box. That could have been a Christmas Day one. But I think in general, pretty solid slate for Christmas Day.
I think it's very solid slate. I would, you know, eventually we're going to get to when these young rivalries are worthy of those kind of dates. I am excited for the DeBansa-Peterson first matchup. Both those guys believing they should have been the number one pick. I'm sure Cam Boozer felt the same way. Caleb Wilson, I'm sure he feels the same. Like, there's a lot of guys at the top of that draft that certainly feel like they are going to emerge as the best player in that draft. But I like the Christmas Day slate. The only change I might make is give me more Victor Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren. Like, give me more of these games. Like, I want them on every marquee date you've got. I want them on opening night. I want them on Christmas. I want them playing in the Cup final. I want them on Martin Luther King Day when NBC's got the quadruple header. Like, I want as much Victor versus Chet as I can get because that is like the matchup that's going to define these guys for years to come. Like, both these guys are going to be superstars in their own right, but how they play against each other and who gets the leg up in terms of team success, that's going to be what really separates them.
I love it. Let's talk about a couple other games maybe you notice on the schedule. And I was looking through our schedule, the NBC schedule, and there's some just great games. I'm looking at even just as simple as December 29th in the holiday spirit. You remember LA took down Houston the first round, a big upset. You got Durant going back to LA. There's some bad blood there. They don't love each other between those teams right there. So I could see some fun fireworks there. MLK Day is just loaded. You mentioned MLK Day. I love any MLK game in Atlanta, as it should be, is awesome. But then how about you bring back Jaylen Brown, who's from there, Marietta. He goes there with LeBron James and the crew to Atlanta. That's a fun game. President's Day. How about this? You got LaMelo returning to Charlotte. Charlotte's going to be a fun team to watch again. So I love that. February 15th. And then I just threw in a little fun one on President's Day as well. How about Indiana? People are just forgetting about Indiana. Indiana at Golden State, a little Curry, a little Halliburton. You put Curry on any national TV game, I'm good to go. Like, let's watch this. But there's some games that kind of pop for me.
You getting a little misty thinking of the LaMelo tribute video back in Charlotte? You getting ready for that? Yeah, that's coming. Yeah, I'm excited to see Indiana as well. I mean, Zubac now playing with Halliburton, with some of the core of that team back from last year. Like, they have a potential to be a sleeper team in the Eastern Conference if Halliburton can come back as Halliburton. I mean, that guy, he had a hell of a last 6 months, man. Like, coming back from the Achilles injury, couple that with the shingles diagnosis, like, he's gone through a lot to get back to this point. But if he can get back to being the guy that was so dominant in the 2025 playoffs, that Indiana team in the Eastern Conference is going to be a tough one to beat. I'm going to throw a different one, though, at you. I'm big on the outside the box stuff here, Grant. I'm going to identify an NBC game here as well. On a Monday night, you have got the Orlando Magic visiting the Boston Celtics. Now, the Orlando Magic, to me, they're fascinating. They are one of the most fascinating teams because I think that team grotesquely underachieved last year. I think they're so much better than their record indicate and how their season ended. I think they've got bona fide stars in that front court in Wagner and Paolo Banchero. They've got good guards in the backcourt, and they've got a coach now who I think is going to quickly emerge as one of the better coaches in the NBA. Sean Sweeney is the real deal as an NBA head coach. There's a reason that teams were tripping over themselves last year to try to get this guy to interview, to try to get this guy to be their head coach. I think he is going to bring real organic growth to the Orlando Magic. It's going to get them back on the track of the 50-win team, or close to 50-win team, that they were a few years ago. I think they have the potential to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think that Celtics game in Boston, November 16th, Monday night, that's the first real test of what the Magic are.
I love it. I was so bullish on Orlando last year. They made me look so bad. Orlando. No, but to be fair, I also did courtside games for their playoff series against Detroit. I got a couple of them in Orlando, and they started looking like the team we thought they were going to be. And then Franz goes down, and they end up losing that series. But man, I agree with you. That team is talented. And Sean Sweeney, people are going to learn a little something about Sean Sweeney. He's a good coach. But I'm excited about the season just in general, man. It just, you look at the schedule, I was looking it through, and unlike years in the past, and hopefully this is because of some of the lottery reform does help with this, but there's a few gimme games throughout the year, but not many. Like, you can't just put Utah as a gimme or Washington as a gimme. Like, these teams are going to be better, and it's going to be hard winning a lot of games this year. So it's going to be so interesting. Maybe it'll look different by the end of the season, but I think the beginning of the season, right out the gates, there's going to be a lot of upsets, or we'll actually learn about teams that potentially are better than we anticipated, Chris.
Well, the question really is, like, how many teams are truly entering this season thinking we're not going to be competitive for a play-in spot? I'm looking right now. The Eastern Conference, Chicago probably saying that.
Brooklyn
probably saying that, though that says a lot about Brooklyn at this point. So there's maybe 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. Sacramento is going to be biblically bad, I think, this year. I think they're the worst team in the Western Conference by a country mile. Memphis is rebuilding. Dallas not competing for a play-in spot, but Dallas just gets Risha Shea. You got year 2 of Cooper Flagg. You've got a new coach in Dusty May. Like, I think they're going to try to be competitive this year. You can probably say there's 4 to 5 teams that enter the season thinking that it's over, that they're headed towards, frankly, relegation is where the NBA has changed the lottery rules. But that means there's 25-ish teams that believe they can be in the postseason. That's exactly what the NBA wants. That's going to create so much competition in all these regular season matchups. All these games on NBC, on ESPN, on League Pass, every single night you're going to get great matchups because this is the year that, at least for now, tanking is not a thing in the NBA. You're just going to have teams that are trying to compete for play-in or playoff spots every night.
Completely agree. Man, is it October yet? Or are we, okay. Actually, just take a little break. You get a vacation at some point, Chris. I don't know.
Gotta take it.
Yes, at some point. All right. Thanks for joining us. I'm Grant. That's Chris. See you around.